Shri Gurubhyo Namaha children. We welcome you to our online teaching academy Ekalaiva. Children, today we are going to discuss about interest in distribution analysis. Now, interest is a payment made by a borrower, a person who borrows, to the lender, a person who gives, for the money borrowed. So, interest is the payment made by a borrower to the lender for the money borrowed. Here, what is meant by capital? All man-made things which involve in the production of a good is called capital. Here, money is invested to buy things such as building, machinery, and reward for capital investment is interest. So, if you are investing 10 lakhs or 5 lakhs, you will get some revenue from that. So, that reward for investing the capital is called as interest. Now, meaning. Interest is the reward paid by the borrower to the lender for the use of capital. So, if a person is going to spend some amount or he is going to invest a certain amount in a business, then he will be getting revenue through that business. So, it is also a form of reward because he invests some amount in the production process and for that he gets benefit. So, that is also considered as the reward for utilizing the capital. So, interest is the price paid for the use of capital in any market. So, this is the definition given by Alfred Marshall. Next, there are two kinds of interest. One is gross interest and another one is net interest. So, first, gross interest. Gross interest means total interest amount received by the creditors from debtors. So, here there is a formula to calculate gross interest, that is net interest plus reward for inconvenience plus insurance against risk of non-repayment plus payment for service of debt management. So, this is the formula to calculate gross interest. Next, net interest, it is only a part of the gross interest. So, gross interest is total interest amount. Here, net interest is only a part of the gross interest and it is the payment for use of capital only. So, a good example for net interest is interest payable for government securities. Next, there are some theories of interest, that is agio theory, loanable funds theory, abstinence theory and liquidity preference theory. First, abstinence theory, it is otherwise called waiting theory. The word abstinence means sacrifice. This theory was propounded by N.W. Senior. So, according to him, interest is the reward for sacrificing from the immediate consumption of wealth. So, according to him, capital is the result of saving. So, if a person saves only, he will get the capital, but saving involves abstinence. So, if a person is going to save, definitely he is going to sacrifice something. So, abstinence or sacrifice. So, it is possible, according to him, it is possible to save some amount only if one abstains. Abstains means sacrifice present consumption. Such sacrifice from present consumption involves suffering. So definitely if a person is going to save, definitely he is going to sacrifice something. So definitely he may be less satisfied also. So he has to suffer. Hence it is necessary to reward the saver, that is the capitalist, to compensate for the sacrifice. So some compensation should be given to the capitalist because he is sacrificing something. So therefore, interest is the reward or compensation paid to the saver, the person who is going to save. So that is capitalist, for his sacrifice. Okay, now Marshall accepted the abstinence theory of interest, but he used the word waiting. Instead of sacrifice, he used the word waiting. So here saving implies waiting. So if you are going to save a certain amount, you will be waiting, isn't it, to get interest. So according to him, interest is the reward for waiting. So if you are joining to a recurring deposit scheme, so you have to wait for certain months, then only you will receive the interest, isn't it? So saving involves waiting, but people do not like to wait. So in order to make them wait in turn to save, we have to pay them some reward. So if you are not going to get any benefits, nobody will be tempted to save, isn't it? So to encourage a person's savings, the person has to get some reward, so that only he will be interested to save. So we have to pay some reward for that. Therefore, interest is the reward paid to the saver for his waiting. So this is the theory given by Marshall, and he used the word waiting instead of sacrifice. So according to him, interest is the reward paid to the saver for his waiting. There for sacrificing, here for waiting. Now criticism. According to this theory, saving involves suffering. In the first concept we discussed, isn't it? But savings may not always involve suffering. If we take rich people, they will not sacrifice anything for savings. They are not going to compromise anything, isn't it? So rich people have money for which they do not get interest. So hoarding means hiding of money, is to quench the thirst for liquidity. Liquidity means free flow. Now next one, agio theory of interest. It is otherwise known as psychological theory of interest or time preference theory. And this theory was propounded by John Ray in the year 1834. But the credit goes to Baum-Bowek. He was an Austrian school economist. He only gave the final shape to the theory, and the American economist Irving Fisher, he modified and gave a new theory, namely time preference theory. Here the agio, the word agio means premium. So according to this theory, people prefer present goods rather than future goods. So according to this theory, people give more importance to the present goods than future goods, because present goods are more certain than future goods. So here they have given one proverb, as a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So there are many countries where no one knows what will happen. So many countries, often they may suffer from various natural disasters. So no one knows what will happen the next day. So for example, we can take Asian crisis of 1996 and American crisis of 2007 to 8, were not predicted for even for economists, including Nobel laureates. So when people save, they have to postpone their present enjoyment or satisfaction. So if one postpones one present satisfaction, one has to be paid an agio. It is otherwise called premium. So this premium is interest. So people prefer present consumption, their future consumption. So due to the risk increasing and uncertainties of the present world. So the world may experience any natural disaster or any pandemic situations like that. Next one, loanable funds theory. It is otherwise known as neoclassical theory. So the loanable funds, it is a theory of the market interest rate. According to this approach, the interest rate is determined by the demand and supply of loanable funds. So if you take the term loanable funds, it includes all forms of credit such as loans, bonds and saving deposits. So this loanable funds theory, it is also called as neoclassical theory, and it was developed by Swedish economists like Wicksell, Bertil Ohlin, Weiner, Gunnar Myrdal and others. So according to this theory, interest is the price paid for the use of loanable funds. So the rate of interest is determined by the equilibrium between demand for and supply of loanable funds in the credit market. Now the demand for loanable funds depends upon the following, that is demand for investment. The most important factor responsible for the loanable funds is demand for investment. So bulk of the demand for loanable funds comes from business firms which borrow money for purchasing capital goods. So if an organization, if you take a firm or an organization, definitely it is going to spend some amount and they may borrow for purchasing the basic goods. Demand for consumption. So the demand for loanable funds comes from individuals also who borrow money for consumption purposes. Next, demand for hoarding. The next demand for loanable funds comes from hoarders. Hoarders means the person who hide money. So demand for hoarding money arises because people's preference for liquidity, that is free flow, idle cash balances, the amount which they are not going to invest or they are not going to get any benefit from that amount. So the demand for consumption, investment and hoarding varies inversely with interest rate. Now supply of loanable funds depends upon the following four. First one, savings. So loanable funds come from savings. So savings may be two types. Savings planned by individuals. So savings done by individuals are known as ex ante savings. For example, you can take LIC premium, EMI payment, like that. Unplanned savings are called ex post savings. Savings left out after spending are called ex post saving. Now bank credit, it is also another source of loanable funds. Commercial banks create credit and supply funds to the investors. Next one, dishoarding. It means bringing out the hidden money into use, and thus it also constitutes a source of supply of loanable funds. In India, after 1991, public sector undertakings are being sold to private people to mobilize more funds. This is also called disinvestment. Next one, disinvestment. Disinvestment is the opposite of investment. So in other words, it means not providing sufficient funds for depreciation of equipment, that is reduction in value, and it gives rise to the supply of loanable funds. So all the four sources of supply of loanable funds vary directly with the interest rate. Okay children, today we discussed about interest. To receive our online lessons, please press the subscribe button and you will receive the latest updates. Thank you children.